I love this show. Not just true stories in general, but particularly the Halloween show. Because Halloween for me has always been really, really important and special. When I was in high school, I was very shy. I didn't know how to express myself. I could never have stood in front of a crowd of people like this to talk. But Halloween was sort of that one time when I could express myself. I could be something different. I could pick a costume, and I would do it. I would do elaborate costumes. I would pick conceptual costumes. If I happened to be dating somebody, we would pick costumes that worked well together. It was that sort of perfect time when I could be something that I wasn't, which was, for the most part, afraid. And so when I was 20, I was at that point taking it very seriously, and I got together with my friends Greg and Colin to discuss what we should do for Halloween that year. And we did this in August because when you take Halloween seriously, you need to plan that shit in advance. The problem was we were just bereft of ideas. We had nothing. Like, we were coming up with ideas, but it was all kind of derivative and boring, and we were snobs. We were costume snobs. So it was frustrating, and that conversation about what we should wear just sort of evolved into a conversation about what other people had been wearing for Halloween. And that evolved into a conversation about something that we had noticed, a trend that we had noticed over the last few years that nobody had spoken about. And that was the fact that women were dressing provocatively for Halloween. At 20 years old, I was not quite as woke as I am right now. And I will be honest with you, I had a problem with this. And they did too. And the thing is, I want to be very clear. It wasn't a shaming kind of thing. I wasn't saying women shouldn't dress like that. I was a costume snob. And for me, showing up in lingerie is like, okay, that's like a cheap way to get attention. You didn't put an effort into a costume. You just kind of showed off some flesh. I'm not proud of that mindset. But we were feeling this. And the fact that this was a thing that was happening and nobody was discussing it. It wasn't like today where we had social media for these types of ideas to come to the surface. It was literally the first time the three of us had ever spoken this feeling to another person. And with that, we felt empowered. And because we felt empowered and we noticed a thing happening in society that nobody was talking about but everybody knew about, we felt we needed to comment on it. And in that moment, I had an epiphany. And I knew what Greg needed to be for Halloween that year. See, Greg was a beautiful, beautiful man. He had these stunning Macedonian features. He was incredibly fit, he was athletic, and he was in the prime of his life. And I realized if we shave his body bare and completely cover him in white body paint, he will make a perfect Greek statue. And as soon as I said this, Colin freaked out, because once I said it, Colin could see it, and he couldn't unsee it anymore. And he's like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Because Colin's a little weird. And Greg was just, appalled at the thought of just being naked on Halloween. And I said, no, don't you see? That's the perfect commentary. It's the perfect commentary. First of all, it's perfect because you're not shaming anybody. You're participating. You're taking part. You're doing the same thing. And you're not saying you shouldn't do this. You're just saying, hey, look, there's this escalation thing happening in nudity on Halloween, and we're just going to set the bar right here. This is how naked you need to be if you want attention now. You need to be fully naked. Greg was an artist and a shit disturber. For many people, that's the same thing. But I could see it in his eyes. He loved that concept passionately. But the other thing that I could see in his eyes was fear. He was terror. The thought of being naked in front of everyone that he knew, he couldn't do it. He wasn't up for it. And I loved this idea so much, I did the only thing I could. I said, okay, Greg, come on. I'll do it with you. We'll do it together. We'll both be naked statues on Halloween. And there was something about that camaraderie, the safety in numbers. I don't know exactly what it was, but he agreed. So we had a plan. Now, the first step of the plan was that the three of us would not speak of this to anyone. Because if you're going to be naked on Halloween, you need the element of surprise on your side. You don't want people going, I can't wait to see Zeb naked on Halloween. You don't want that expectation. You just want them to show up and go, holy shit. So the other thing was, part of the plan was that the three of us were going to start spreading the word. We wanted to let everybody know that I was going to host Halloween, because the logistics of showing up naked to somebody else's party in the end of October is difficult. And then with that, the last part of the plan was really just between Greg and I. We had to hit the gym. We went on very restricted diets. I really didn't eat anything for the next 3 months that wasn't a carbohydrate or a protein. And every other day we were at the gym, and we were goading each other on. We were forcing each other to work for it. And we would when nobody was in the bathroom, we'd go into the bathroom and, stand in front of the mirror and pull out the gun show so to see what the progress was. And by the time October hit, I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked at how large I'd become, how sculpted my body had become just from putting this effort in. And I remember standing there looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, for the first time in my life, I look good. And I thought, I think I'm okay with this. I think I'm ready to be naked in front of everybody that I know. I feel like I've said the word naked a lot tonight. Every time I say it, I feel a little naked. And this is public speaking. It's supposed to be the other way around. I'm supposed to be picturing you guys naked. But I should probably describe the costume in detail. So what I did was, we both did exactly the same thing. I shaved everything on my body from here down. I slicked my hair back so that it was just a slick, almost bald, and then painted it white. Covered my entire body in white body paint. And then we did a marbling texture sort of on a bias just to give it that final touch. And that was the costume, essentially. So the problem is I'd invited people to my home, and that meant I was going to have to answer the door when people showed up. And let's be honest, that's not really a fair thing to do to people who aren't expecting it. That, you show up to somebody's house, you don't expect to see their penis hanging out. That requires a trigger warning, and we didn't have those back then. So that and the fact that we were a little chicken shit, I'll cop to that. Greg came up with a plan. He had this white spandex fabric at home, and he made these little triangles of spandex that we glued in place with theatrical spirit gum. There was no hair. It wasn't that bad. It's okay. And so it was like a G-string, but with no string. And with that in place and our body paint, we looked like Greek statues if Mattel made them. And that's not exactly what we were going for. So Greg, again, being an artist, he had the perfect plan, and he made these fig leaves that were about this big. And we, for those of you who can't see it, it's about that big. And we Velcroed them to the garment. I don't even know what to call it. And it was perfect because you could see that we were completely naked. You couldn't see what was under the fig leaf, and you had no clue what was holding that fig leaf in place. And that's how I greeted people when they came to my door. It was the best Halloween I've ever been to. It really, really was. I got to feel a certain self-confidence that I'd never felt before. I would walk into a room and people would literally just stop talking. I had a lot of attention, a lot of it very aggressive, some of it not wanted, but that happens, and in the end, always respectful. But it changed me because it made me think about the issue that I had about nudity in a Halloween costume. I realized that I was wrong, that it doesn't really matter. I was enjoying it. If I'm enjoying this, why can't anyone else enjoy this? And you see, the thing about it is, the ideal Halloween costume is, it should be this perfect mixture between who you are and who you wish you could be. And when I was crapping on that, when I was being a snob towards other people's dreams, I was crapping on those dreams. And I didn't want to do that anymore. And so that Halloween changed me completely, and I've never been the same since. Thank you very much.
Zebulon Pike.